We have the college football game of the year to date.
Yeah,
to
date.
date.
To date.
What do you mean, whoa? You didn't let me finish the sentence. You cut me off halfway.
No, yeah, cut him off, Mike.
I
Jesus
tend to
Christ.
do that.
You know how many game of the years I have in college football every season? You're telling me this can't be a game
We haven't
of the
had
year?
That's a good
one.
point.
We haven't
That's
had
a good
anything
point.
this year, surprisingly. No game.
no game of the months.
This week we've had a game of the year. I have 5 game of the years this week.
Oh,
This is
like
my favorite. This is
actually?
my favorite slate of all time.
Oh, shit.
That's not
But we
good.
have Georgia and we have Bama, the
What a
two
matchup.
SEC heavyweights, historically speaking, going head to head this week in an absolute battle down in Alabama. Georgia's favored by 2.5 points. The total is 48.5. I just want to dive into this game. I mean, we're making this its own episode. We do obviously the whole college football episode. We need a whole episode for this because we got to really dive into how these teams are looking in a very interesting number. I mean, this Bama team, they've kind of been looking all right, but I assumed the spread would be bigger than this, even though Georgia's on the road. Mario, you're the SEC guy here. I know you're an LSU fan. You got the LSU jersey on. You got the throwback. I like the fit today. But looking forward to this Georgia-Bama game, what are you seeing here? I mean, I'm finding it hard to not just all in Georgia.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, this number was surprising. I thought Georgia would be
9.5 point favorites.
no, not 9.5, but maybe like around like 5 or 6. I don't know. It's just I get it's at Bama, but I mean Bama's looked all right.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't looked amazing.
Merrill looks good.
Monroe looks good, but this Georgia defense I feel like is something to really hang your hat on this year. Their offense can be questionable at times. Carson Beck, I mean, he's looked okay. He doesn't really look like that Heisman front runner that everyone projected preseason.
Yeah.
He just looks very mid. But I still think this defense is going to give Alabama a lot of problems. I do see Georgia pulling out this game personally by a field goal, so I think they'll. I don't know. To me, it looks pretty chalk, which means I probably am going to be dead, and Alabama's going to win by 13.
Fair enough. Mike, I mean, you're obviously a Longhorns fan.
Oh, yeah.
You're sitting at the top of the SEC, the top of college football at the 1 seed.
Looking down on these bitches.
down on these two teams directly on your heels.
Yeah.
What are you projecting is going to happen?
Well, first of all, here's what's going to happen is Georgia's going to walk into Tuscaloosa and absolutely fucking violate this team. I mean, this is not going to be close. And just as a sidebar example, obviously it's not a 1-to-1 ratio example here, but Kevin DeBoer is not ready, or any of these previous Pac-12 coaches are not ready for the big 3 conferences in AC. I mean, I don't even know if you could count ACC,
His name's
but
Kalen DeBoer.
Kevin DeBoer. I mean,
Kalen DeBoer.
yeah, stupid DeBoer. I mean, this guy.
He's not ready for this.
Again, he's just not ready. Similar to how USC wasn't ready to play a Big Ten,
But he
conference
whooped
game.
up on Texas last year to go to the national championship.
Again,
but he's not ready.
this isn't his team, or that wasn't his team.
But he's not. We're not talking about the team. We're talking about him.
Look. Kevin DeBoer is. It's.
Dude, you've said
Kalen
that 4
DeBoer.
times. And you've
I don't care. I mean, he's just not ready.
Okay, he's not ready.
Okay, so he's not ready.
Let me
He's not
go.
ready.
Let me go into some trends.
We're waiting.
I'm trying. Yeah, I
Is
keep
the
on
coach
getting
ready?
So Kirby Smart is 16-2 when coming off a bye. With that being said, he averages each win by 17 points. He is averaging 36.4 points for and 19.4 points against in career games after a bye. Second to that, Kirby Smart has scored less than, or in 2017, Kirby Smart with Georgia has scored less than 20 points just 8 times, and he has followed that game up with a 7-1 record. If you all recall, the last game was against Kentucky, which they won 13-12.
Yep.
He is going to come back with an absolute vengeance and fucking wash this Bama Tide, Crimson Tide. Next, Carson Beck is just far better than Jalen Milroe. Milroe can't throw. Stats to prove it right here. Carson Beck has thrown for 1,511 touchdowns and 1 interception. Milroe has thrown only...
He's talking career.
Yeah, career. Sorry. And Milroe has thrown for only 1,207 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Clearly, one is just better.
Wait,
here.
Well, 1 rush.
Yeah,
It's all right,
yeah, whatever.
Wait,
whatever.
wait.
There's no way
say
anything you
he's-
just said is true.
You say he's thrown 7 touchdowns? Milrow?
7 touchdowns and 4
And
interceptions.
1,200 yards?
Yes.
What?
Against ranked opponents.
Oh, I was like,
Sorry.
I was like, what stats are you
Sorry,
looking
actually-
at
I was
so
right now?
confused.
Actually,
I was
both of these are against ranked opponents.
Okay,
yes,
I
I
was
know.
like,
'cause I was
dude,
like, there's no way Carson
no,
Beck has
yeah.
11
That's what,
touchdowns.
and 1,500 yards in
Yeah,
3 games.
None of
No, I
that,
apologize.
None of that made any sense.
No, I apologize.
Okay, but Georgia wins.
Anyways, Georgia wins. Yeah, massive here. And also take the under because defense is still going to play a massive
But mostly
role.
because
wait,
the quarterback
before-
and the quarterback
Georgia's
play
going to
and
be
the
able to put enough
coach.
pressure on Milrow to where he can't make good decisions, and Milrow's going to turn it over quite a bit as he typically does, and Georgia's going to just walk
Okay,
over.
Before
Well,
Tyler goes, I just want to say real quick, hearing Mike say all of that made me live flip because I was so like chalk Georgia, and then hearing Michael say that just made me think that's what every single person is going to think. So I think Jalen Milrow causes a problem with his legs, and Alabama edges this game out like outright.
Oh, I
You
did-
think everything
so-
was thinking after the bye week what Georgia was?
Well, I think
I hope you
so-
don't
so-
put too many units on this.
I know I'm not going to bet on Alabama. I'm
Yeah,
just
you
saying. I'm
shouldn't.
just giving my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
Yeah, okay.
No,
so
you shouldn't.
I
bet
actually
on this
think
game if that's your.
I think Bama is going to come out looking like the sharp side of this bet pregame. Because
Sure.
Bama this season, right? So they've played 3 games. They beat Western Kentucky 63-0. They beat South Florida 42-16 and Wisconsin 42-10. So, I mean, you could say the only team they played is Wisconsin. I don't know if we want to count Wisconsin as a team because this
They haven't played a team.
Or
might be the
Wisconsin.
they might be the worst team. in the Big Ten.
Cheeseheads.
Yeah. So, but they really haven't played anyone. This is obviously their new coach's first real test in the SEC's first SEC game, his first big home game. So there's a lot of unknowns here. The one thing Milrow has been doing well is not turning the ball over. Actually,
Yeah, at all.
He's 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Their offense is really efficient. They're really spread out at wide receiver with the freshman Ryan Williams leading the team in receiving yards. And their running back Miller has 265 yards in 3 games. So he's looking pretty good. Georgia's offense, I'm actually not that worried about. So they've played 3 games as well. They played a Clemson defense, which is actually pretty good, but the second half of that
Week
Clemson,
1.
well, the
That
second
was
half of that
week 1,
Clemson
yeah.
game was an interesting game.
I think they played
Play
this
them right
week.
now. It's a lot.
30
Yeah, it'd be a lot different.
Well,
game.
we can talk the Clemson conversation later on. I have a lot to say about Clemson in the college football episode. But yeah, 34-3, they beat up on a pretty good defense there. Tennessee Tech 48-3, not a real game. Don't even look at it. And the Kentucky game, I'm really not worried about. Like, I was talking to Mike earlier today. We were just talking about college football, and there's a lot of teams like Miami, for example, who don't play anyone and they put up crazy offensive yards, and everyone talks about how great their offense is. But Miami hasn't had to go play a night game in the SEC against an SEC defense yet. So neither is Bama. Bama hasn't done this. So we can say all we want about, offensive stats not turning it over. This is Bama's first game. This isn't really Georgia's first game. Georgia played a Clemson team. It was week 1. They beat the shit out of them. But they went into Kentucky on a night game in prime time, and they still found a way to win. Their offense wasn't good, but their defense played really, really well. Kentucky had no touchdowns. So this Georgia team to me is a lot more battle tested already, and they'll be fresh now off a bye. I think a lot of people are going to be taking Bama just because of the offensive numbers. Bama's offense looks better and their defensive efficiency looks better just because of who they played, I think. So I'm not giving up on this Georgia team. I'm not underestimating Bama either. So I'm not hammering this, but this will be one of my bigger bets strictly because when the spread for Georgia, when they come off a kind of shaky game and then they play a ranked team, the spread always gets kind of nudged down pretty close. Like Georgia doesn't cover big spreads, but what they tend to do a lot is beat the shit out of teams when it's pretty close spreads.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to try to be caught off sides here predicting a loss for Georgia or they only win by, they win by 1 or 2 points. I'm taking Georgia. I think they win by a field goal. And I don't think Bama's bad at all, but I don't think this Georgia team's bad. I think they're the second best team in the country. Yeah.
Something to note also, Georgia is the only team in college football who has not given up a touchdown.
That's a crazy stat.
Just a note.
Okay. I think that stat is irrelevant and that Alabama should be fine to score a touchdown against Georgia. I've been saying this for a while now, including at the tail end of last year. I don't think this is the same Georgia team that we've been talking about for the past 3 years. Obviously, they were one of the best teams ever. Their identity, especially on offense, every year they had an unbelievable 5-star players on their teams that I was like, holy shit, this guy can break it open at any time. I don't think they have any on their offense. Like nothing. everyone was so happy about ETN. I think he's very mid. I don't think anything's crazy going to happen. He's been hurt a lot. We haven't even got to see him. They have nothing on offense. In my
I was going to
opinion.
say, he hasn't played a whole lot. When he's played, he actually looks pretty good. He has like 180 rushing yards, and he's only played I think 5 quarters.
Yeah, I just don't, nothing, like I said, for me, it just doesn't look explosive. Nothing looks huge on their team. And on the opposite side, Alabama does look, I think they have plays that can break open with Milroe's legs and Ryan Williams' deep threat. I just think that I just don't think this. I think it'll be a great game, and I don't think anyone should overreact to whatever happens because there's a long season, and this is just an unbelievably early game. That's unfortunate for these teams, especially for SEC play. But yeah, I think Alabama is just like last year. I think they're gonna come out better. This is gonna be at home. I think the home crowd's gonna be huge. I think Milroe's just efficient. I think he's much better than people think, and this could be the game that he takes that step past Carson Beck just for this year. Maybe not for draft.
It is the night
but
game too.
Yeah, so this is just going to be a massive game. Georgia still has to show something. I mean, if they slow down on offense and they start getting worried about last week,
Do you think Bama's gonna be able to score?
100%.
When you're looking at this total,
What do you mean by
all I'm saying is the total's 48.5.
Uh-huh.
Let's start throwing out some score projections here just to see where we view this game going.
Yeah,
there's a lot of points for a Georgia Bama game, by the way.
Yeah.
48.5's a lot.
Yeah, SEC games you typically want to go under just in case because it's a scary game that both of them play
With
well.
good teams playing
With good
each other,
teams,
correct.
you typically want to go under. I like a solid 28-17 Bama, so it's going to be close. I won't love
you're leaning
I'm
under-
leaning under,
under
but
for sure.
I won't hammer
What's the
bet it.
over under again? You said
48.5.
40. Yeah, I would lean under as well, personally. But
Because it's just tough.
it's hard for me to see either team
dropping 40.
Yeah, giving up 5 or 6 scores to one.
It's kind of weird, and that's why I'm kind of shook on this, but I think it goes over pretty quickly. I think
If it did, I wouldn't be
I think
surprised.
this over gets there at the end of the third quarter. I think this is a final score 35-30, maybe
Wow.
way over. I think
I think that plays into Bama more than.
Well, no, I think Bama takes the lead at some point in this game. I don't think this is just a grinded out run game. As much as Georgia might like this to be.
Georgia would love that.
Yeah, as much as Georgia might like this to turn into that type of game. I think, they get some explosive plays over the top. Georgia hasn't allowed any offensive touchdowns, but they haven't played an offense, to be fair. They played Clemson pre-whatever transformation they had going into App State where they just changed the entire playbook. And Kentucky's offense is
Nothing.
awful this year, and they just kick long field goals. So they haven't played an offense that has the Ryan Williams, who's just running 22 miles an hour down the field, and Milroe, who can throw one of the best deep balls in all of college football. If he has a throw in his pocket, it's the break the pocket and throw 65 yards downfield to the fastest guy on the field.
Yeah.
So I think Bama gets some big touchdowns, but I'm not all the way there where Georgia doesn't have the playmakers. There's a couple players on their team
I'm not
I think
there either. Yeah.
I think Georgia has some players that they can break out.
Oh, I'm saying comparatively. Obviously,
To past
it's
years?
Georgia.
To
They
past
do
years.
have 5 stars on the lineup with names like
Yeah,
that.
I
Like,
think
every year they've had. I have Brock Bowers for 100 yards this game. I have Jameson Williams for 100 yards.
I think Oscar Delp's gonna have a really good game. I think that's going to be a weak spot because they're going to send a lot of people down the field, and then ETN and the running backs, they'll catch a lot of screens out of the backfield. I think Delp might get 8 catches, so I'd bet his over for receptions. And then I do think ETN finally getting to play a full game, which is going to be this Georgia game. The only reason they beat Kentucky, to be honest, was ETN. I don't know if you watched the plays that there was 3rd and 6, and they're running the ball to ETN, breaking for 30 yards. He had 2 huge runs at the end of that game to put it away after Kentucky punted down by 1. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I like the over here, and I'm leaning Georgia. Mike, I know you can wrap it up soon, but what do you think? Over, under?
Yeah, still going to stay with the under, and I still think Georgia just kind of routes. I'm going to go 27-17 Georgia.
Oh, all right. So I think we're all 3 unders and over, and then Bama, Georgia.
Yeah.
So this is how you know they put a good line out there. Whenever
Yeah.
everyone's split on the pod. This should be a fucking awesome game.
It
though.
should. I really
oh,
hope
yeah.
so.
I'm very excited.
I mean, no matter what, when you get a Georgia-Bama night game in the SEC, it really
electric.
feels... I think this is the turning point. Summer's officially over.
Yeah.
You got early college games kind of feel kind of... A lot of them are clown-ish.
Yeah.
You see Duquesne playing Tennessee. You're like, what the fuck's going on? 70-0. But you get a night game, Georgia-Bama. You got the SEC music in the background.
Yeah, it's
McAfee's putting on one of the heads. I don't know. It's going to be electric, and I'm really excited to watch this. Go Georgia. I will be betting on you. Don't let me down.